What's up, guys? I hope you're doing well. So I found this cool little wouldn't necessarily call it a like an interactive thing or whatever, but it's like a series of little web pages from on the San Francisco Fed's website, just kind of about cash and little like United States money, like history facts and stuff like that. So I just thought I would share it because it's little things like that I just think are kind of cool. But let's see. Yeah, let's head straight over to the screen share. That'll get it bigger. Awesome. Okay, and so one thing to notice, like at its most basic level, cash is like a store of value, right? And that value is used for obtaining like goods and services that you need. And so I talked a little bit about this, almost kind of like a side note, or not really like a rant, since it was relative to the previous video from last night. Um, but that's the whole point of money, right? Is to store value and be a medium of exchange, and also like a unit of account. Which I think there's the three like uses for currency or money, or like what is money, that you hear all the time. Um, but the whole point of it is to get goods and services, right? Because that's what the actual value is for. It's like you get paid in money so that it's easy, so you can get goods and services. I mean, we went from a barter system to using this kind of transactional form of money, whatever that has been throughout history, for any specific case, whether sometimes it was seashells, physical like paper dollars, gold coins, whatever. Um, but yeah, and one thing you need to know specifically with us, with fiat currencies, is there has to be confidence, which is said in here. It's like you have to be confident that this piece of paper has value in it. Should go without saying, right? And so just kind of, what is cash? See if my highlights stayed. Awesome. It just takes a second. So although some of these, they're talking about the different payment methods, right? Because now it's people don't so much use like physical cash anymore. I think I read somewhere that like 97% of transactions are non-cash based or like simply electronic. So whether it be debit or credit cards or whatever kind of service you use, like Cash App or Venmo or whatever else is out there. Um, Not many people use cash anymore. Now, there's obviously, it still has specific use cases, right? And so, anyways, but although some of these payment methods have become more prevalent than cash, like credit and debit cards, whatever, um, then it still plays an important role in the nation's economy and the global marketplace, with more than 1.4 trillion of U.S. currency in circulation around the world. Um, which this is a factor in M naught or M0, whatever you want to call it, which I talked about in one of my the blog posts on my website, about M naught and kind of breaking it down into different sections. Um, so just something that popped in my mind there. So the Federal Reserve works closely. Huh. All of a sudden, it started storming. Welcome to Florida. um, so the Federal Reserve works closely with our partners at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, the U.S. Mint, and the U.S. Secret Service to maintain public confidence in the quality of currency and coin circulation. So that's one thing that I thought was pretty interesting, right? And sorry if the rain messes with the mic, or like if it's very loud, because I don't think I've ever been live streaming like during a storm here. I don't know. So we'll see. I don't know. It's loud against my window here, so hopefully it's not too bad for you guys in the mic. Um, but anyways, so one of the things and the reason I highlighted this in green was because the U.S. Secret Service. Because I mean, I knew the U.S. Mint, right? Because they're the one that mint the currency, obviously. And then there was the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, which I was like, okay, that makes sense. You, you got to print the stuff, and they have their own little section for it. But what really perked my ears up was the U.S. Secret Service, um, and seeing that in there. It wasn't something I expected, but it's pretty much just for like counterfeiting and stuff like that, which we'll get into later in some of these other sections. So go to history. See if they pop up. There it is. So yeah, just some cash facts about, or I guess some historical facts about cash. And so the Federal Reserve Centennial is 2013, marked 100 years of service in maintaining that confidence in U.S. currency. I'm sure with that statement, there will be some people who watch this video and be like, no, because that is highly debatable, at least from certain points of view. Yeah, I'm going to leave my opinion quite out of it, to be honest. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was the foundation of the nation's independent central bank. Yeah, I've talked about that in a few other videos and posts as well. And then in 1690, the Massachusetts Bay Colony was the first to issue colonial money to meet the high demand for trade between colonies as a response to shortage of foreign coins, which were primary form of money at that time, right? And so I remember, I forget which event. There was some events like that. The reason I highlighted this was the shortage of foreign coins, because that's one major thing that popped up a lot throughout history and economy, specifically in the past. Pretty much, well, I guess it's still a problem actually, because there's a lot of arguments that I hear basically in like the current system where kind of the U.S. dollar is a world reserve currency, and from the perspective of other countries, right? And so when they have massive economic problems, a lot of the times it's due to a dollar shortage. And so I think that's kind of the foundation of Brent Johnson's dollar milkshake theory, right? Of why the dollar will become or is becoming strong, like at the moment, to where it's like there's a shortage of it. And so that happens. And then if you listen to like Jeff Snyder and Emil Kalinowski in like the Eurodollar University, they have like the Eurodollar events, if I remember correctly, are due to dollar shortages. And that's kind of where they're going at. Like all those kind of events that they have. There's like 4 or 5 of them. That's one of those I'll have to brush up on. Is just kind of alluding to it, and at this point. But the Department of Treasury's Bureau of Engraving and Printing began printing all United States currency in 1877. The largest note ever printed by this bureau was a $100,000 gold certificate, printed in from December 1934 to basically a month, not even a month. These notes were not circulated in the general public. Instead, the Treasurer of the United States issued them for transactions between the Federal Reserve banks. It seems kind of like it was pretty much like almost like a form of bank reserve in a way. Yeah. Let's see. Congress established the United States Mint under the Coinage Act of 1792. The first U.S. Mint building was constructed in Philadelphia and was also the first federal building erected under the Constitution. And they began producing copper coins in 1793. And each one of these has like different like sections and more where it goes further in depth. I just don't want to make this a obnoxiously long video. Going to the next section. Let's see, basically just the point of the currency, right? And so to make it easier for the public to distinguish between genuine and counterfeit currency notes, currency size was reduced and standardized designs were instituted for each denomination in 1929. So talking about like, because each different note had like different colors and different sizes, a lot like the euros. I don't know if they're still like that, but when I was over in Europe, like 6 or 7 years ago, I think, something like that, maybe 8. Like all the notes were different colors and a whole bunch of other stuff. But apparently one of the major reasons was this to reduce like counterfeiting or make it harder. And so they also did like micro printing and have like a security thread in it and stuff like that. That's why like if you ever give $100 bill to like a cashier or whatever, they'll like put it up in the light or whatever. That's the stuff they're kind of looking for. Or they have like these markers that we use. Like whenever I was a cashier in high school, every time someone would give me like a 50, I had to use that marker and mark it to make sure that it was real. And it like, what was it? It was like if it didn't do anything, um, it was good. But like if it went like clear or something, it was fake, something like that. Um, anyways, it's been a while for that too. So in the 1860s, an estimated 8,000 different state banks were circulating banknotes in denominations varying from half a cent to 20K. And these notes came in a variety of sizes, colors, and designs, and counterfeiting was rampant, which I like to say. Or which you always have to, they always like put stuff in there about like former systems and stuff. Yeah. Um, so in the 1860s, right, this was kind of nearing the end. Well, I guess in the middle, or however you want to describe it, of like it's called wildcat banking, where like different states had their own banks, they had their own currencies. It was wildcat banking. It's rather self-explanatory. And there were instances of, let's say, fraud, to where like a bank would pop up for a few months and then basically get a bunch of deposits and then leave overnight. Um, and stuff along those lines, right? And so it really kind of forced the consumers to be more educated on what they do with their money, because you can't just throw it into a bank and basically big daddy government's going to be like, oh, it's okay. And so you're not going to lose it anyway. You actually had to pay attention to it. And there'd probably be some arguments to where, like, counterfeiting was rampant back then, kind of as a comparing it to theft in a way. And then you have, I'm sure some people would argue now it's just, now that we have the system we do now, it's more that theft is systemized towards the entire system that does it. Right. And so they have to, all the bills and stuff, the new currency designs are developed by designers at this Bureau of Engraving and Printing. The final design is approved by the Secretary of Treasury. And then other stuff. Let's see. Go into coins, pop up. Yeah. And so it's kind of more of the coins is more of like numismatics, because they do make, the mint makes coins, some coins specific for like hobbies, right? And so like they'll make like commemorative coins to where they're technically legal tender, but their purpose isn't to be used for like various things, like for a store and such. And that's where you see like the numismatist people who collect them and stuff. And then we have security, the final thing. Basically, this is the counterfeiting one. So the United States Secret Service was established in 1865 to fight the proliferation of counterfeit currency in circulation, and the service remains committed to investigating and stopping counterfeiting threats that could affect the integrity of our nation's currency. Blah, blah. Be careful when you reproduce currency images, all the disclaimer stuff. But that's pretty much it for this one. As you can tell, like pretty much every one of these little things had another link to it. So I'm pretty much just going to link the this main section here in the beginning, and then you can search and look at all the other stuff like that I didn't go over and stuff like that, just to kind of to fill your own curiosities. So, anyways, that's all I got for this one. So I hope you guys have a good night, and I'll see you on the next one.